Hello all, my name's Matt Johnson and welcome to The Interesting Times, a political comedy show from the UK. So, last week were some of the local elections, the 6 mayoral elections and the ultimate prize, a by-election and a seat in the House of Commons. And women. But the winners of the night were undoubtedly the Reform Party, formerly the Brexit Party, which was formerly UKIP. And if it gets into power, will no doubt be changing its name to, no, that wasn't us, that was the other guy's party. But in terms of celebrating the results, as jubilant as Reform were, they came a distant second. To the media.
He's only gone and done it. Nigel Farage, no longer the party of protest, but a party of revolution in British politics.
Votes are still being counted, but there is only one clear winner, Nigel Farage.
Reform stormed to victory in place after place in the local elections.
We're actually today living through history being made.
The Reform revolution is underway.
So, Jane, is this a political earthquake we're seeing?
Just goes to show that all that time and effort the press have put into slapping the slappable face of Nigel Farage on the front cover of everything like he's the next James Bond rather than what he actually is, which is Blackadder to Richard Tice's Baldrick.
Fastest growing political party, and we have a Baldrick-like cunning plan.
Certainly has paid dividends, but is that all Reform's victories are down to, or is there something else?
I feel they're out of touch, the two mainstream parties, and I feel that at last they have a party who is listening to them, who's saying as it is, who's not afraid to say the things that most people think but don't always say.
Okay, let's all just calm down, shall we? I mean, yes, it was a good night for your party, but Reform voters thinking. I mean, come on. And following on from his documentary series about gangs and pirates and Afghanistan, Ross Kemp took on his biggest and toughest challenge yet, getting people to vote Labour.
Good to see you. This is Ross Kemp phoning from Labour Party HQ. Thank you. Bye-bye. I think it's potholes. I think it's the cost of living crisis. I think it's fly tipping.
And while Ross Kemp was talking potholes and fly tipping, Ros Jones, re-elected Mayor of Doncaster for Labour, addressed the real issue with the party.
You said Keir Starmer has to listen to what people are saying.
Well, I think the results here tonight will demonstrate that they need to be listening to the man, woman and businesses on the street.
Has he been listening thus far?
Well, on certainly 2 or 3 occasions, I would say no, they haven't actually realised.
Luckily, Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, and presumably anything else they can add on to the end, Peter Kyle was on hand to defend the government.
Keir Starmer has made hundreds upon hundreds of decisions since he came in, and Ros could find 3.
Yes, for goodness sake, Dennis Nilsen didn't kill 60-odd million people in the UK, and yet people decide to focus on the 12 that he did. So the full breakdown shows that Reform now have control of 10 councils and have amassed 677 councillors, mainly from the Tories, who lost 674 councillors. And a good night for the Liberal Democrats as well, who got 3 councils and 163 councillors, and the Green Party with an extra 44 councillors. But what of the big losers of the night? Let's hear from Leader of the Opposition, at time of me finishing this sentence, Kemi Badenoch.
Turning away in their droves, are you the right leader to fight this fight?
I'm the leader that the Conservative Party members chose, and I'm executing the plan which they voted for.
Not a good sign when the best answer to the question, are you the right person to lead the country, is, well, I was elected by the same people that elected Liz Truss and Boris Johnson. I mean, make of that or what you will. But it was also a bad night for Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, who, when it comes to the pensioners' winter fuel payments and the slashing of the personal independence payments and the increase in national insurance for employers, surely he must see that we are heading in the wrong direction.
I want to respond by saying, I get it.
Good.
The message I take away from these results is we must deliver that change even more quickly.
Wait, going faster? How's that going to help if you're going the wrong way? The big prize, though, was in the northeast of England, a by-election in Runcorn and Helsby following the stepping down of Labour MP Mike Rocky Ainsbury, seen here having a disagreement John Prescott style. And although Labour were defending one of the biggest majorities in the country, it was a Reform Party again that snatched it by 6 votes, as shown here by Farage. And yes, Nigel, I think this puts you in first place. Number 1, you could say. Making it the first time a non-Labour MP had been elected in the area in 50 years. And the Clacton Plankton then decided to show off his newest and first female MP in the way that he always seems to when interacting with the opposite sex. Weirdly.
An interview, I'm not sure if we are privy to that.
Sorry, are you introducing your newest MP? Or telling all the kids at school that you two are definitely going out? It was also certainly a good night for ex-Tory and person whose thought processes can be measured with calendars, Andrea Jenkins, who won Reform's first mayoral seat in Greater Lincolnshire, which will now presumably be getting a downgrade. And before I show you this, I just want you to know, despite what you may be seeing with your own eyes, this woman is not on drugs.
I've never experienced such negativity and soul-destroying campaigns against me like this one. It was soul-destroying. The dirty tricks in the US politics, I believe it's now being imported here into Britain. The Conservatives called the police on me and implied I slept with political friends. They contacted the mainstream media to smear me. The Independent's husband pushed for a hearing at the council. My barrister had to represent me. The case was dismissed. The campaign was also filled with irony, as one of the candidates stated I was parachuted in. She said in her South African accent. Now, they undemocratically tried to remove me from the ballot. But I will say no more on this, and I wish them all well.
Ah, so good of you to let it all go like that, after you've used your acceptance speech to bring it all up.
Going to have to work with fellow Conservative leaders on the Greater Mayoral Committee in Lincolnshire. Are you going to be able to do that after the divisiveness of this campaign?
I'm going to be the bigger person, and I'm a strong person.
Bigger, stronger, faster, dimmer. The political acumen of Liz Truss with the social graces of Hyacinth Bouquet. Andrea Jenkins is tough. And when the questions get tough, the tough decide that the question is one they'd rather not answer, thank you.
She said you were parachuted in and you made a comment about her South African accent. What did you mean by that?
What I meant is, how can...
So someone who's got an accent can't be from this county?
I think, actually, I'm not even going to answer any more of your questions. I think that your questioning is quite divisive. You're looking into things when it was a little play with words, it was a little joke because of the irony. Do you not understand irony?
Bearing in mind that you're an ex-Tory, now Reform, blaming the Tories, and that as a Reform mayor, calling it a Sky News reporter divisive when you're talking about putting people in tents, I have to ask, do you understand irony? But Andrea isn't one to dally over detail. It's more about what you say rather than what you do. For instance, she has pledged to do away with Lincolnshire's diversity officers. Except Lincolnshire doesn't have any diversity officers. Everyone is employed by the council either on merit, or if they lack merit, then they're elected. Okay, there is no other way of spinning this rather than to say it was a good night. A very good night for Reform. And of course, that means it was good news as well for the melt of the moment, Nigel Farage, who lapped up all the attention like a 400-pound tangerine carcass driving the world's biggest economy off a cliff. But this is going to be a problem for Farage. And there were and have been moments where all this electoral success start to make him realise that if he doesn't do something in the next 18 months or so, he could end up being Prime Minister. I mean, this is a man with a love of wine, cigars and red, white and blue boating blazers. But who isn't a serious politician and has a work rate of somewhere from an anemic sloth all the way down to Boris Johnson, all wrapped up in superficial nationalistic World War II claptrap cosplay. For over 20 years while he was an MEP, he had one of the worst attendances there, ranking 748 out of 751 MEPs. People below him include 2 other UKIPers and an Irish MEP, Brian Crowley, who, because of hospitalisation, had been unable to attend the EU Parliament. During his time in Brussels, he attended only one of 42 EU fishery committees, you know, that industry he cared so much about. And he tabled no motions, reports or amendments and asked one whole written question and was a member of one committee. And he's not exactly got stuck in since he's been elected MP for Clacton, where he's supposed to hold one surgery a week with constituents, which would be about 40 since the general election in July. He's had 0, claiming that he was advised against it by the Speaker's office on security grounds, a claim that was denied by the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle. At the same time, he's travelled to the US to support and fundraise for his good friend Donald Trump on 5 separate occasions. He's also held down 9 jobs on top of, let's be honest, instead of his parliamentary duties. Netting him well over £1 million a year and making him the greediest, sleaziest MP in Parliament, which, as you can imagine, is against some pretty tough competition. So the question then is why? Why would he swap all that for the job of Prime Minister? All right, you can claim an extra 80 grand a year, but you wouldn't be able to keep the paid jobs, meaning you'd be taking a pay cut of, well, over £1 million. You would also be expected to do some work, some real work, like sorting out Brexit, you know, from the bad deal that we've got to the good deal you're obviously going to get us. Lots of hard work on that, Nigel. And you'll be dealing with all that migration. That's going to take a lot of work as well. More work than, let's be honest, he's been used to. And of course, on top of all that, you are then hoping that everyone around you toes a line, including ex-Labour councillor and Tory Deputy Party Chairman Captain Caveman, and your new Greater Lincolnshire Mayor who tends to speak her mind, which I appreciate is a short conversation, but she will do so even if that goes against party policy, as the Tories found out. And you haven't been able to keep 5 MPs in line. What chance are you going to have with over 400? So, this is what I think will happen. Farage knows all this is coming, and yet he's still got a bit of time. So he's going to keep riding the gravy train for another year, maybe 18 months, and then, just like after the EU referendum, he'll find an excuse to step away from the top job, saying something along the lines of leaving the party in great shape and it's time for someone else to take the reins, and then morph into whatever it is slugs morph into. Him stepping into number 10 is his worst nightmare, and will be a case of having all his chickens come home to roost for this cock. And that's it. No time to talk about this.
The only good point is a dead point.
That was Kneecap, an Irish hip-hop trio, George Paul, and I'm guessing that's Ringo, that have landed themselves in hot water with that incendiary advice. So, for a start, it goes without saying, don't kill your local MP, or indeed a non-local MP. When it comes to MPs, I'm kind of on the side of the not murdering democratically elected representatives, even if you agree with the pro-Palestinian stance that these boys have taken. And it's not great when your name is taken from the brand of violent justice that the Irish Republican Army used to dish out during the Troubles. But the reaction to this I wouldn't have expected if they'd actually killed a local MP. It's been way over the top, including them having to fight, legally that is, to prevent the stopping of an independent grant approved for a government scheme by the then UK Business Secretary, Kemi Badenoch. She gets absolutely everywhere, doesn't she? So, how about a solution? The Conservatives could fund Kneecap's grant with some of Frank Hester's donations, who, if you remember, made a £15 million donation, which the Tories accepted even after he had been reported saying that Diane Abbott made you hate all black women and she should be shot. Hypocrisy much? And yes, of course, government grants are different to political donations. So, okay. How about another solution? You don't like that? How about another one? Don't try and ban Kneecap. It's the worst thing you can do. You're going to make them all edgy and stuff. No. What you should do is give them the grant and advertise them everywhere as the British government-sponsored Irish rap trio, maybe with a Union flag in the top corner. The British government proudly presents Kneecap, sponsored by the British government. They'll end up having all the street cred of Jedward. Still not feeling it? Okay, how about maybe, just maybe, if you're going to pay attention to what they're saying, then instead of zeroing in on 12 words they said 18 months ago, how about paying attention to what they've been saying every day since and before then, and stop sending arms or parts of arms to Israel to commit genocide? Just a thought. Thank you all so much for joining me today, whichever day you're watching this. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Take care.